united in grief. The suspect in the shooting at the Tree of Life synagogue in Pittsburgh, where 11 people were killed, 6 others injured. He will appear in court today. President Trump says the law needs to change.
This was an anti-Semitic attack at its worst. And when you have crimes like this, whether it's this one or another one on another group, we have to bring back the death penalty. They have to pay the ultimate price. They have to pay the ultimate price. They can't do this. They can't do this to our country.
Wow, the Department of Justice is considering the death penalty against suspect Robert Bowers. Joining me right now is Republican Congressman Scott Perry from Pennsylvania. Congressman, thanks very much for joining us, and our condolences to everyone there, your constituents in Pennsylvania, as the entire country is mourning for the victims of this horrible fatality.
Yeah, we are in mourning in Pennsylvania, of course. We just can't imagine that this occurs, and you know, in a synagogue, in a church. The kind of the epitome of innocence. I understand one of the victims was a Holocaust survivor in her synagogue. Right. We are just completely grief-stricken and condemn these actions in the strongest terms.
You heard the president there. Do you want to see the death penalty?
Yeah.
Here?
I'm a supporter of the death penalty. I think it is a deterrent, and in Pennsylvania, we've got a governor that has seen fit to not exercise his authority to use the death penalty, even in horrific cases such as this. And so I think that certainly it deserves another look, if nothing else.
Let me switch gears and ask you about some of the economic issues going on. The president has been keeping the pressure on China. At a rally in Indianapolis, the president laid down a sticking point he has with Beijing and America's trade dealings with them. Listen to what he said. Got to get your reaction here, sir.
Chinese companies have tried to steal our trade secrets. China has taken many of those great, brilliant things that you've come up with, and they've stolen it.
So I don't think anybody, I mean, many people agree with that statement, Congressman, that China has been stealing from the United States for decades. But what do you do about it? I mean, you serve on the House Committee on Foreign Affairs. Your thoughts here?
Well, there's got to be strict penalties for those type of things, number one. Number two, I think that China's got to understand from an economic standpoint that we won't stand for it, and there's going to be consequences on a macro level. And so when the president says that he's going to rein China in and isolate China from an economic standpoint, I think that that's part of it. We can certainly be more reasonable on other issues regarding tariffs, regarding trade, regarding the World Trade Organization, but we cannot be reasonable with the outright theft, the lawlessness, and the theft of our intellectual property in the United States and the West in general by China. And they have to suffer economically for that. They have to see that there's a correlation between stealing other countries' intellectual property and their prosperity.
Right, but they haven't done anything about it, right? I mean, this fight now has gone on more than a year, I guess, and the president pushing back, rightly so, for this theft.
Right,
but
right. Well,
he's a dictator for life in China, and he's not changing his behavior, is he?
Well, and I think that the president is right to be patient, because it's gone on for much longer than a year. This president is finally the one that has said we've had enough of it and we're going to do something about it. But I think it requires a measured response over time that escalates and lets China know that if it continues, there's going to be benchmarks that you're going to have to deal with all across the spectrum of opportunities that the administration in the United States and the world has. Yeah. And we find it unacceptable, continue to highlight it as a problem.
Congressman, the president is also outlining a new tax break for the middle class. Congressman Kevin Brady joined me yesterday on Sunday Morning Futures and told me that this is separate and apart from making the individual cuts permanent. Listen to what he said. Got to get your reaction here.
It's really about keeping the momentum going. Obviously, the economy is booming. We're on track for the first total year over year, plus 3% economic growth in more than a decade. We're seeing jobs coming back, paychecks going up. Main Street is hiring again. So the president's really focused on more of that economic growth. The House has passed 2.0 before we left for October with 44 Democrat votes for this three-bill package. It's now over in the Senate, and I think permanence really depends on this election. If Republicans retain control of the House and the Senate, next year we will do reconciliation and make these tax cuts permanent. The president wants to go even farther. He's really focused on the middle class. He just believes they're the ones who get squeezed the most. He's asked us, and we've worked with him on developing another 10% middle-class tax cuts for workers and families, and so we'll be ready to move with that as well.
So Congressman, what do you think of the plan in terms of an additional tax cut? And what about the pushback that we continue to see deficits, an $800 billion deficit this year and $1 trillion deficits for as long as you can look?
Right. Well, Maria, I always think that letting people keep more of what they earn is a good thing, and that the government misuses the tax dollars in some respect that are sent in. So that's always a good thing. But and also on the deficit side, I've been there on the deficit side, voting against bloated deficits and bloated deficit spending. So, but let's not correlate the two so directly. You don't fix your overspending problem by taxing people more. You fix that by spending less. And so that's what we really need to focus on. The president offered a budget that spent less, and we didn't take much or any of it up. As a matter of fact, the tax proposal that the House sent, the Senate, I think, saved about $400 billion, but yet the Senate sent it back with $1 trillion additional spending. And unfortunately, to get something that allows the people to keep more of what they earn has to make it through the Senate. As long as that's full of liberal folks that don't want to cut spending, we're going to have this problem.
Right.
We want to fix that here in about seven days.
Congressman, real quick, tell me how the 7 days is looking to you in terms of the midterm elections. Are you expecting to keep the majority in the House, or do you think that goes to the Dems?
No, I think that's clearly doable. I've been out on the streets knocking on doors, and it's been a really, really positive response. So I think people are correlating more money kept in their pocket, more money that they've earned at their disposal as long as Republicans are in charge. They also know that if Nancy Pelosi is in charge, that she's going to vote for tax increases, she's going to pull all that back. They don't like that unpredictability any more than businesses don't like that unpredictability.
All right, Congressman, we'll leave it there. Good to see you this morning. Thanks very much.
Thank
Congressman
you.
Scott Perry joining us.